Hi, my name's Lynne. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Lynn.
And I've been through this process with the help of a big book step study sponsor, meetings like these, and a loving higher power. I'm currently still working on my amends, and I owe this group an amends for being late, so I humbly apologize for that. And I'm trying to live the latter steps in my life to the best of my ability. Sometimes okay, sometimes not, like this morning being late. So I apologize for that. So I'm sorry.
Pray.
So I'm just going to qualify a little bit in terms of as it relates to this fifth step and my background. I grew up in an alcoholic family, or there was alcohol in my family, and so my environment was that when I was young, filled with fear, not just hiding, wanting to forget. And as I grew into a teenager, I felt like a victim. And I took all of adulthood and, I vowed that I would never drink like my mother did, and, that I would be in charge and have a better life. And so I believe that I thought I was the higher power, that I was going to, take control of my life, since I had no control as a child, and I was going to be, the best mother, the best wife, have a wonderful family, and live happily ever after, like, a prince and princess that we hear about. And alcohol turned out to be the solution to, so I thought, all my problems, because it settled me down, got me out of myself when I thought, when myself was out of control, and it helped me to forget even more. So I was a closet drinker, so I had all the outside stuff that looked okay, but on the inside I was dying. And I got into this program through, doing things my way, self-help books, going to therapists, doing all kinds of things, going to different religions, trying different churches. Nothing seemed to work. I took a look at a self-help book, and it talked about Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I thought maybe there's hope for me, and I got into the program, and I started going to meetings, and that began my journey. So jump forward to the steps. When I got in here, I had no idea that all the stuff in the back of my past and all the fears controlled my life, because I thought I was in charge. There was just a problem with drinking. And, if I stop drinking, then that's it. Done. I'm done. And so as I got into the steps, but I got into the steps a little bit different. I went through a couple of AWOLs, and I used the format from another 12-step group. And they did use the columns. There were 5 columns, and I did do that. And I did it to the best of my ability. And I did it, and I felt okay. I did what I was revealed to me. But I think 15, 16 years into my sobriety, I started wondering, am I missing something? And that's when I started showing back up to this meeting. I had been here early on and I poo-pooed it and walked out with a resentment, and came back again with the tail between my legs. I kept coming. I just kept coming, and a dear friend of mine introduced me to who is now my sponsor, a wonderful, blessed woman, and I'm so grateful to have her in my life. So going into the steps, and step 5, it says we're trying to get a new attitude and a new relationship with our Creator and discover the obstacles in our path. And so when we go into step 4, it's a fact-finding mission. So I'm just looking for the facts. And going into 5, it's not, to me, I don't look at this like going into confession. I look at this as a fact-finding mission. But I can't do this by myself. So it says, we're trying to get a new attitude, and that's what I was trying to, there was something missing in my life. And I couldn't put my finger on it, and I was just a little edgy. I'm trying to get a new attitude. I just can't put my finger on it. And the writing, I did share some of the writing with my sponsor when I was stuck, but in going through this, we're getting a new relationship. I can't do this without my higher power and another human being. And this was said, I heard this somewhere, and it was looking at the stool, the 3-legged stool of myself, which was my sponsor who took me through this 5th step, and a higher power. And if one of them is off, it's going to fall apart. And that's what I felt when I went into this. So I didn't have any fear in that respect. I just felt that it was going to help me be better and not as unsettled, and hopefully be a better productive person. So, excuse me. So it says here the best reason, this is really, keeping me vigilant. The best reason, if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. And so that's the reason for doing this. I don't want to drink. I don't want to go back out there. I don't want to be that person that I was beforehand. So, and then it says they only thought they had lost their egotism and fear, and they only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned enough of humility and fearlessness and honesty in the senses that we find it necessary until somebody else hears all of their story. So for me, that's being honest, just being honest. I did not know what that was. I really didn't. When I did it before, I think it was more of a confession. But things weren't, and I did it to the best of my ability, but I did not know the truth behind a lot of the stuff. I really didn't. And going through this process, it helped me to see the truth in myself. And, I'm not a bad person. I'm really not bad. It's just that there are some flaws, and there are ways to deal with these. And I don't have to do the things I did in the past. So you know, it says here they talk about going to different people to do this step, and that was in the, you know, years ago, and I don't think that, well, I know that it wasn't, AA was not the way it was then as it is now. There's so many meetings and sponsors and people where you can take your fifth step with. And besides, if, you know, when I did go to my therapist, I lied to my therapist. So it really, I went to her for like 20 years. She had no idea. She had me going to, because I had progressed so well in therapy, that I was in a group therapy with two AAs, and I was the Al-Anon person as I was drinking at night. She had no idea. So that's not helpful. And when I remember going to confession, because that's what I did as a child, I lied to the priest. Mm-hmm. You know, 10 Hail Marys and 5 Our Fathers. I had to make stuff up and all done until next week. And, you know, the thing is that I had these fears in between that week that I was going to die and go to hell. So, you know, I carried that stuff into adulthood. And so I need to speak to another person, somebody who's been through this, that understands and can point things out and help me see the truth. That it's a miracle for me to think differently. So it says here there are directions. So I don't have to make this stuff up. I don't have to invent it. I don't have to, you know, create something different. And we just follow the directions. We pocket our pride and go to it. It says here, it says once we do this, I just want to say another thing. I'm a little spacey, so sometimes I'm not, it doesn't always flow when I'm speaking, but when I was speaking with my sponsor, we set up appointments because I had a couple of notebooks, and she spent the time with me to go through this. So it wasn't rushed through. I wanted to rush through this. I just wanted to get it over with and get done so I could go to the next step. But how am I going to see the truth and go through this process if I rush through this? And she gave me that time. She gave me a lot of time to do this, and I'm eternally grateful for that, because you know, the feeling of shame is, you know, that I had is not there now, because I see things a little differently now with the help of going through this process. It says here, we pocket our pride and go to it, and then it says it's a promise. It says here, once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye, and we can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears will fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. So it goes on. This is a promise. It says at the end, we feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe. So, you know, in doing this, and then in doing this, when I was doing this, and at the end when I finished this with her, I didn't feel this at all. I didn't. But I do now. And it just takes time. I think for me, when I got to the ninth, in the ninth step and was doing my amends, I could then see this. And it's little by slow for me. There's no light bulbs that go off, although occasionally there's a light bulb that goes off on some insight that I find out when I'm doing my inventory. But this is happening. And they put this in, it's a promise. It's true. It's not made up stuff, it happens. It really does happen. And so with this, because of this whole process, I gained a closer contact with my higher power. And I understand what humility is and being humble, speaking to another person about this. It's just giving me, it's given me that sense of ease. Because when I was drinking, when I was drinking, I had to have the chaos, the insanity, all that drama in my life to distract me from whatever it is that was going on in my life. Alcohol, drama, chaos. And with this, I have serenity, I have peace, I can look at things a little bit clearer and get to whatever the heart of the matter is. And there's a solution. I just don't have to be wrapped up in myself, that self-centered ego, which is what, when I was going to speak here, I was thinking, don't get wrapped, this isn't about you. This is carrying the message. This is not about me at all. It's carrying the message to another alcoholic and talking about the spiritual peace that one gets from going through this process. So when I finished up with my sponsor and my higher power on this, I did return home. I did follow the directions. I returned home and I was quiet for an hour and I reviewed first, it says the first 12 of the 5 steps, the first 5 proposals, and looked to see if I omitted anything. And it wasn't that I omitted something purposely, I just forgot. And then part of this memory stuff as a child was that I wanted to forget everything. And so this process was the complete opposite of revealing the truth and the facts in this fact-finding mission. And so I think there were 2 things that I realized that I didn't bring up. And it wasn't, I don't believe that I purposely omitted it, I just didn't remember it. And so I did call her, at the end of the hour, and I wrote it up. I said, oh my gosh, not another one. Wrote it up and told her about it. I just thought, okay, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's so important. They talk about the mortar, the foundation. It's connecting my higher power and the spiritual tools, the principles of this program, and talking about this with my sponsor and giving me another way to live. So I'm truly blessed to be here, and it is a privilege and an honor to speak here. Again, I apologize for being late, but I thank you all for being here, and thank you for listening.